So I auditioned a year before I found out that I got the role. I read the script. I felt an immediate connection to Anne. I auditioned. I got a call back. I wrote a personal letter to the director trying to convince him that I was the right person for the job. Fast forward a year later, new director, but I still got the job.
How did I get the job? Or how do I become involved with the project? I came onto the project a little later. I believe maybe they had someone involved who couldn't do it for whatever reason. And Daniel and Lionsgate and Gold Circle were very kind in their approach, and I thought the script was very unique. And so I felt it was probably a good idea for me to take the job. And we started this right when the pandemic hit our country, and so everything shut down, and it felt very fortuitous to be able to work on anything at that time. So it was a lovely opportunity for everyone involved, I think. Working with Daniel is he has so much energy, and it really pushes through everyone else, and so it motivates everybody to show up and do their best work. And he keeps things. There's a levity on set, especially. I think it's important when you're working on a film with this sort of subject matter to keep things light. And he is a light himself, so it was a lovely experience. Yeah.
He's a really honest human being. You'll never get a false word come out of that man's mouth. And I think when we were approaching this film, he wanted the same thing from us. So he put Christian and I in a room together with, 25 questions. And you could say that you didn't want to answer them, but it was like a quick way to get to know somebody, created our connection very quickly. With Posey, we did these Zoom sessions where we just played games, so I got to know her as a friend, so she felt comfortable on set. The layers of his approach when directing is pretty incredible. And then I just have a special bond with Daniel that, like, when he comes to give me a note on set, it's like, you know those slow motion shots in a sports movie when, like, the football is thrown and the crowd goes silent? When he comes to speak to me, that's kind of the experience that I have, that it's just such a calming moment on set that feels so personal. And it's just been a pleasure to work with him.
Colin, Salmon, and Virginia. Everybody who was involved in the film, Nick, I think they're all really uniquely talented and brought themselves to these roles, and because of that, you feel like each of these people are really invested in Sister Anne and in her success, and trying to prevent any sort of malicious intent on being visited on her. And I think Colin has taught me in a short amount of time a lot about life, a lot about being an empathetic human being, and about being a man. And I am eternally grateful for having had the opportunity to work with him. Virginia's a pro, and you see her step on set and turn it on, and that's a lesson in and of itself. So I thought it was a pleasure.
Colin's like a father, metaphorically and physically in the movie. He just has this vibrato, this charisma. He can make humor just land so quickly with him as an actor, and that means that a brain is working at such a specific pace. He's up there with some of the best actors that I've ever worked with in my life. I like truly admire him. He also is just like so suave. Like he would be like playing his little trumpet in like the like in his trailer, like playing jazz music. You just feel that from him. And he's also just so tall that he's like such a force. And then Virginia Madsen, it's like, as a woman, I was like, you're like an icon in my mind. I can't believe that I'm having to play like an opposition to you. But she, like, she's encouraging. She's, a wonderful person to have in your corner. She made it very easy. The most challenging part of the movie was staying in it for a month. It's dark. There are moments where I was mentally and physically exhausted, but so is the character, and I knew that I had to stay in it. I've referred to this film as feeling like a marathon, and there's like that last 10 miles that were hard. The funniest thing that happened on set, I'm like trying to think of like.
We had great times just hanging out with Colin and Nick backstage.
Nick's the funniest thing on set.
He's so hilarious.
Yeah.
And a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
I think the most challenging thing for me was being away from my family at a time where everything was sort of uncertain for everybody, right? We didn't know what we were walking into. We didn't know how they were handling the pandemic out there. We didn't know it was one of the first films to get up and going during that time. So we didn't know what the safety protocols were. Not much rattles me, but I was a little bit anxious about what it all meant and how it would play out. But that was all assuaged pretty quickly. I think Lionsgate did an incredible job of taking care of us, and we had an incredible director at the head of the ship, so it was good.
Oh, one of the funniest things that happened was Cora in her possessed look and like hanging out in her like pregnant baby walking around set and like doing dances was like a hilarious image to like take seriously when they say action.
Yeah, it's true. I would only hope that I am as courageous and brave and empathetic. I know I'm not. Something to aspire to is to be as kind and devout as Father Dante is. Yeah.
I think your character is always an aspect of you, and you're turning up different levels of yourself to create someone that's not exactly who you are, but always stems from you. If I could take anything from her, it'd be a little bit more of her courage. The crew, it is awesome in Bulgaria.
They are on their P's and Q's. They know how to make a movie. They know how to do it efficiently. The people in Sofia that we met were just some of the kindest, most giving people. Walking around Sofia was eye-opening, and you fall in love with a city that it's got history, real history, and the people have history, and they carry it with them. So I really enjoyed every moment of it. Yeah.
Yeah, they were fun. They were awesome, awesome people. The costume designer, food. I was gonna say the food.
Food is great.
Yeah, the food is so good in Bulgaria. The costume designer, the makeup, you just felt like you're in such good hands, and they work so hard. And there's such a deep-rooted history of religion in Sofia and Bulgaria that you felt it. Like you'd walk up to these huge churches, and there was a sense of it in a way that you don't feel here in North America, that you could just pull from. I don't know. I think there's challenges all along the way, and I try not to remember them.
I think every film has its own challenges, and so you deal with them as they come, but nothing that was insurmountable. Obviously, we got the movie out, so I think it was a challenge to make a movie at the beginning of the pandemic. I think in 20 years, we'll look back and go, what the hell were we doing? We made a movie during the pandemic, but it was exciting.
You know what? Daniel brought something up when we first started, and Anna's so strong, but it's a movie based on fear. So he said the audience is only going to be as scared as you are, but she has to be strong in these moments, yet have this layer of like panic that's going on underneath. And I think that was something that I was very concerned about the whole way through, of not just being like, I'm not affected, that there has to be this underlying fear that's present in her all the time. And I think that was probably the biggest challenge, the challenge I had in playing her and putting her performance out there.
I think my favorite one is changing because there's such great movies coming out. I love The Conjuring, the first and second one. I thought they were truly terrifying. Barbarian just came out. I saw Barbarian. I thought that was an excellently made movie. Everybody in it was incredible. So I think it changes. I'm inspired by anything I see, really, for good or bad, right? What not to do or what to do. I think you take away a lot from it.
Yeah. I think, the original Exorcist is one of the best films that have ever been made. The Shining, Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby. Great.
All iconic films. Now I feel like there's a resurgence of horror with Hereditary, Midsummer, great films. I love Suspiria, the original and the remake. I love horror movies. But I found them later on in my life. I got introduced to the genre around 24, because before that I just watched them to like make out with boys.